question is, are you ready?
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Wednesday night. We are rolling on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter/X, on Facebook, and on Twitch. This is a rescheduled episode 134 of the Throwdown, and today we are throwing down with a Georgia-based wrestler, yet another product of the talent factory that is WWA4. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Prince of Port-au-Prince, Zamir Zuriel. How you doing tonight, Zamir?
Bonsoir, merci. I'm doing well. I hope you're well.
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm glad we managed to get this rescheduled.
Oh, so am I. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, for those of you that are watching this live, if you have questions or comments or just about anything, just throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we're going to go ahead and start the whole thing over, kind of like the first attempt never happened. So we'll start with the first and the most obvious question, Zamir, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling for 4.5 years now, since 2019, beginning of 2020.
Nice. And I know that you've obviously trained at WWA4 under the amazing AR Fox. Have you trained anywhere else?
Yes, I have, actually. I have also trained under Jimmy Wang Yang.
Okay.
Recently. That's been
nice.
He's been another coach that's really helped me develop my skills and hone my craft and become a better wrestler, honestly.
Nice.
He's pretty cool.
I've actually been trying to get Jimmy and his daughter to come on the show, but getting a hold of them has been a little bit difficult.
Yeah, that's fair. They're really busy.
Oh, no doubt.
His school has opened up, so it's a pretty busy day.
Very cool. So in the early stages of your wrestling training, what was the most difficult aspect of professional wrestling for you to wrap your mind and body around?
I think the fact that I had to wrap my mind around the fact that my body is going to be the main instrument used within the ring, within this profession. Because speaking never bothered me, going in front of crowds never bothered me. None of the extracurriculars that we all talk about never really gets to me. But when I took my first bump and hit the ropes for the first time, I was like, oh, my body's gonna over time.
Yeah. It's the really top performers make it look so easy, but it is anything but easy. I have the utmost respect for what you guys are able to do, man. It is not an easy thing to pull off.
Thank you so much. No, it's the hardest thing I've done thus far, but it's the best thing I've chosen to do.
So, before you started wrestling, did you have an athletic background? Did you have a background in sports or anything like that?
Mm-mm. Not at all. No, sir. Never played the
Interesting.
sport beforehand. Never touched a field. Never threw a ball.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I'm presuming, since this is the typical answer that I get on this question when I ask it, I'm presuming that you've been at least a fan of this stuff the majority of your life. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I will say I've been a fan the majority of my life, ever since I was like 6 years old. So yeah, I will say
What would you say is your earliest wrestling related memory?
uh, my mom, my mom taking me to GameStop when I was 6 years old and getting me SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for my PlayStation 2.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was the best game I could have ever started off with. That was my first wrestling anything. Insanity.
Nice. You would be surprised the number of people that I've had on the show who had their first exposure to wrestling through video games. It's been a surprisingly frequent thing.
I don't know if that's a that says a lot about us, about my generation.
I guess so. So Ribshot over on YouTube says Jimmy Wang Yang is a legend, and I
Oh,
couldn't agree more.
absolutely.
So you know, you and I have talked a bit, and I know that you are also a man of faith, and I've noticed some Bible verses on your socials, two in particular, Psalm 121 and Jeremiah 29:11. I'm just going to put
Hmm.
them up on the screen real quick. Um, Psalm 121 says, I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Man, those are some beautiful words.
Hmm.
And then
Absolutely.
and then Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Man, those are also some really terrific words.
Hmm.
And knowing that you're a man of faith, and knowing that the world of professional wrestling can sometimes be kind of a dark place. How have you been navigating the world of wrestling without compromising your beliefs and principles?
It started with prayer, with honest prayer, open prayer, just talking to God, asking Him like, if this is Your will for my life, then not only give me signs, but like Thy kingdom done. I'm sorry, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done. I prayed that before I even signed my contract to the WWE for, and I'm very grateful I did, because if I didn't, then I probably would have ended up in the wrong place. I wouldn't have ended up in the right hands. I pray before every single one of my matches. I thank God before I go in, and I thank Him when I leave. My connection to Christ has always been my foundation. So I knew that if I'm going to do this, it's going to have to be done with Him. Because if I don't, I see and have seen many paths that have gone before me that didn't. So that was my clear indicator of like I can only choose to go narrow.
Gotcha. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
Oh, I like to paint. I like I like to paint. Really anything that speaks to my spirit, anything that speaks to my heart. I like to make collages of colors. I like to do like extravagant things. Like I drew the tree of life like
Oh, that's
recently,
cool.
just kind of off my own brain, and that's been something that I picked up. I bake, I cook. I quite do enjoy singing outside of wrestling. I like to speak in my native tongue of Creole, French. Sac passe, Napole to all my Haitians out there, all watching.
Nice. Nice. So, you mentioned that you paint. Do what type of painting do you do? Do you do oils, watercolors, acrylics? What do you paint?
Mainly just right now, just straight canvas painting,
Hmm.
and then I'm going to move on to acrylic painting going soon. I'm pretty excited for that. Just to level up a
Very
little
cool.
more.
Very cool. You're kind of a renaissance man. You've got a lot of interests and a lot of irons in the fire. That's pretty cool.
I guess I am. Thank you. Mercy.
So, we're mostly a wrestling related show, but we do dabble a little bit into pop culture, and I'm always looking for recommendations. Are you watching or listening to anything cool right now?
Oh, I will say I've been watching. I've been watching the show on Hulu called The Rookie. I'm on
I've heard that's really good.
it. It surprised me. I'm not one for the rah rah of like police shows or whatnot, but this one actually like caught my attention and kept my attention.
Nice. When you find a show like that that can grab you and keep you, that's kind of rare. I mean, um, yeah, yeah, that's I'll definitely have to check that one out.
I think you
So,
should.
absolutely. So, again, outside of wrestling, what person inspires you the most and why?
Outside of wrestling,
Yeah.
hmm. I think outside of wrestling, an artist that or a person that inspires me, he's French. His name is Stromae. He is extremely popular. He's a musical artist. He's a singer and a rapper. Um, his story, his presentation. He makes electronic music, pop music. He makes this. He's like the Mozart of French music. When I looked at him, I was like, oh, I see a lot of myself in that because I'm very much kind of like out of the box, out of the ordinary in wrestling. Can't really pin me down. He's very much
Hmm.
like that.
Nice, nice. So, what does your family think about all of this? What do they think about the fact that you're pursuing your wrestling dreams?
My mom, she is the biggest fan of it. First of all, she's not only the reason I got into it, but she's the reason why I stay in it because the the motivation I need comes from her. The rest of my family thinks is pretty kick ass that they get to see me on TV or on camera. Um, I
No
haven't
doubt.
really had an opportunity to show my father yet, but one day that'll come.
Hmm. Um, so, um, I think I remember the answer to this, but I'll ask it. I'll ask it again. Um, as I recall, you are from Haiti, sort of by way of New York, and then
Oh,
came down here. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
yeah, almost. My grandparents are away from. from Haiti. My grandparents and everybody on like above me are from Port-au-Prince and from Jeremy, Haiti.
Okay.
So most of like my grandparents and most of my family, they all immigrated to New York, and my grandmother and my grandfather, they were we call them the matriarchs because they started it. They planted the home first, so others could follow in behind them.
Got you. Got you. So, uh, so you're basically originally from New York, and then ended up down here. So,
Yeah,
so how old were you when you came to Atlanta?
I was yeah, 13. I was 13 when I moved to Atlanta.
Okay. So what was your favorite thing about New York, and what is your favorite thing about Atlanta?
Um, Favorite thing about New York would have to be, honestly, I think the snow. As much like as treacherous, like hold on, the snow during the beginning of November and the end of December. After that, keep it, all of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
please.
So you like snow around the holidays.
Yes, there we go. Can't say that. Can't say I carry much from New York, but it's okay. um, my favorite thing down here, I think, would have to be the scenery. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of places in the South. I think there's a lot of wealth down here, a lot of kindness.
Yep, yep. So looking over at the Instagram chat, my son Zach is in the chat room. My recent guest Nick from Babyface Breaks is in there, and the Shooter Gabe is in there.
Bonsoir.
So
I
so touching on a little bit of the current news in the wrestling business, you know, WWE has this whole thing going on right now with Karrion Kross. Cross
Mm,
and Scarlett have been, moved to the alumni section of the website, and supposedly their contracts ran out over the weekend. But, based on what happened recently with R-Truth and with WWE's current penchant for kind of blurring the lines between what's real and what isn't, what's your opinion on the Karrion Kross situation? Is this a work, or have they really let his contract expire?
oh, see, I hope it's not. I hope it is a work. I hope
I
it's
do
just a work.
too.
I hope that they just let them go because there's so much potential.
I
Not
know.
even not even just potential. That duo alone is something that we have not
Hmm.
seen on our screens in
I
for
mean,
God knows how long.
and if you've looked at any of Cross's social medias and seen some of the vignettes and stuff that he has produced on his own, that man has creativity, I dare say, approaching the levels of Bray Wyatt. I mean, the guy's mind is just incredible. So, like you, I'm tending to think the whole thing is a work. But, if they really did let him go, man, their loss is going to be somebody's gain.
I
And
know.
what's interesting is with the fact that they let the contract expire. As far as I know, when it goes that way, there isn't the 90-day no compete. So technically, if they really were, you know, to for lack of a better word, if they really were dumb enough to let him go, he could show up in AEW tonight, I think. Because usually when they let the contracts expire, the 90-day doesn't apply. I don't know that to be a fact, but I know that there have been situations in the past where somebody's contract expires and they're free to go wherever immediately. So we'll see.
I've seen that too. We've all seen that. I
Yep,
hope it's just a work, but honestly, you're not wrong. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Shoot,
absolutely.
everything's gonna work out for him.
Yep, yep. So, they say that the best wrestling personas are usually pretty much yourself turned up to 11. So, tell us about in-ring Zamir and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
Oh, in rings Amir, in rings Amir is all about his culture. Very much. He's he is me turned up like all the way. He speaks mainly Creole and French. He carries around his traditions on his heart and everywhere that he goes. I have symbols all over my gear of my Haitian culture heritage. Um, Also, he bounces around a lot. He's a lot more athletic than he appears to be. But outside of the ring, I will say I'm much more reserved, much more quiet. Um, I don't tend to raise my voice. I don't tend to really. I like to sit down. Zamir is very much let's go everywhere and let's finish this match.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, um, a while back, I had I had a couple of guys on the show from All Caribbean Wrestling. Um, I had uh, a guy named Bruce Cross, he's one of their wrestlers. And then I had Showtime JB Cool, who is one of the basically the founders and promoters of All Caribbean Wrestling. And just with what you've got going, I think you could potentially be an amazing fit for that company.
Oh mercy.
Um, as as a matter of fact, I mean, I don't know JB that well, but I'd be willing to drop him a DM and tell him to check you out. Because they are very much about the culture and all of that, and I think that potentially you could potentially at least get some work from them.
Wow, merci. Thank you so much for believing in me. It's very nice.
Absolutely,
Thank
man.
you.
So you know um, you said you've been doing this for about 4 years. So thinking back, tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts going into it? Thoughts coming out of it?
Oh, my first match was a triple threat match. It
Okay.
was against a guy named Ash Bennett and another guy named Takuri, and it was the it was the most nervous I had been up until that point. I think for anything because it was like I actually have to do this. I trained for X amount of months. It took me a minute to actually want to step foot in the ring, and before I went out there, all I told myself was, "You got this. Whatever happens, happens. It's too late now." And when I during the match, I was able to keep up way more than I expected. And afterwards, I was like, "Wow, this is. I think this is actually what I want to do for the rest of my like life. This field, this right here. This is what I want to do." Because I scored it. I did better than I thought I was going to do.
Yeah. And having moments like that are they're good for your confidence, for your demeanor, everything. And and having a good first experience like that can really, to some extent, kind of make or break you. So, well, you
Absolutely.
know, we've heard about the first match. Now, if you can narrow it down, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Oh, off the top of my head, it
Yeah.
was me versus Rico Gonzalez, and this match happened 2 years ago. It was actually at the WWA 4. This match was fire. We have two rings and a big garage, like opening. So we used both rings. He did like suicide dives from both sides, and then
Oh,
we ended up
nice.
outside wrestling with the cars. We used fire at one point. I remember I grabbed WD-40 and a lighter, and then we just did so many like so much in that match. It's still one of my favorites to this day to look back on and be like, that hurt, but we
Yeah.
killed that.
So the WD-40 and lighter bit, had you guys planned that in advance, or did it just kind of spur of the moment? Let's see what happens.
We we planned it like a few, like honestly, we were the main event. We planned it a few moments before the actual show started. So we went all the way to the store not too far down from us. We were like, okay, some way somehow we're gonna work this in somewhere. And then that's when we just said throw all caution to the wind, literally.
Nice, nice. So I know everybody has them, but what is your biggest in-ring pet peeve?
I think I have a few. Um, First, I think like my number one would be seeing people not wipe their feet on the mat before they enter. And that's a weird sign of respect that I can't not do. Another pet peeve when I'm in the ring is when we're not when we're moving like mad fast because we're supposed to move fast, but when sometimes when I'm moving fast and the ropes aren't as tight because people don't realize the more that people wrestle, the looser that the ropes can get.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I can hit the ropes and I like bounce off of it in a weird way on like a shindy. No shade, but yeah, stuff like that. I
Gotcha,
always bounce up.
gotcha. Well, you know, I know what you mean. You know about the mat thing. I mean the competition area is it's kind of a sacred place in some respects. I mean, I trained in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for several years, and you know. And when you go onto the mat, you know, you always just do a quick bow,
Mm.
and there were people that wouldn't do it, and it always just kind of stuck in my craw. You know, I mean, all you're doing is just showing respect for those that have gone before you and for each other. You know, I mean, you know, but anyway,
It's a sign of respect. I understand it. Thank you.
absolutely. So yeah, I completely get that. So if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
I would rather be great on the mic because I think there's a lot of people who, I mean, I, myself included, not too much, but like there's a there's tons of talented wrestlers. Just there's a lot of us out here. Not to say not to say like there's a shortage of any of us, but when it comes to talking, I would definitely love to be a better talker. I feel like I can draw so much more money, more fans, more entertainment down my way and into wrestling.
Gotcha. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match it's like comfort food. You just find yourself going back to it, and it's, it never really gets old. There's always some new little something you can pull from it. Do you have a match like that?
Yes, actually. It's a match from, and I'm blanking because I'm going to butcher the other guy's name, but it's a match with Norman Smiley in
Hmm.
UWF 1988 versus. I'm forgetting his last name, but I'm pretty sure It sounded like a Yamasaki, something like that. But that was a match that I thoroughly like to watch over, and I go back and I like to study because watching Norman Smiley is how I learned to Matt wrestle. I watched him to learn really like all the ins and outs of it all. So
Hmm.
I keep going back to that one. There's always something new.
Norman Smiley, I feel like, is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of the business. That guy was incredible. And I feel like he never really got his just desserts. I mean, he was just an amazing talent.
He honestly was amazing. Personally, he's my inspiration. He's my favorite wrestler. If I can pick out one, it will be him.
So piggybacking on that question, do you have an all-time favorite promo as a fan? Is there a promo that you just love?
Yeah, yeah. The Miz, in 2009, I believe he had the U.S. Championship, and he cut a promo. I think he opened up Raw with it. He was at the back of the locker room, and he would just cut this scathing promo on his backstory of how he got kicked out of the locker room for eating a piece of fried chicken and spilling some crumbs on a bag, and then
Yeah,
walked
I
all
remember
the way
that.
to the outside, walked through the crowd, and then my favorite part is when he called he called the audience a bunch of mistakes, and I've never in my life heard that up until that point. I was like, this man
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah, Miz is somebody who, he's just got so much just natural charisma. And that type of thing is something that really can't be taught. It can be honed, and it can be further brought out. But, that type of just natural charisma, you've either got it or you don't. Um, but yeah, he's he's something else.
And I love the Miz. He's one of my tops. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, in your opinion, excluding yourself, who are the best male and female wrestlers in the world right now?
It's, um, I would male wrestlers.
Male and female, yeah. Who are the best in the world right now?
Mm, for me, I would say male wrestlers. I would say there's just so many. Honestly, I still gotta say Randy Orton is still one of the best in the world to this day.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the greatest in the world to this day. And then Mercedes Monet on the flip side.
Hmm.
Love Mercedes Monet. I hope she continues to collect all the belts across the world. She deserves it.
Yeah, the whole belt collector thing she's got going on right now has been pretty cool. I mean, she's
Yes.
literally just covered in belts.
Hmm. From head to
But
toe.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so, and this can be present day or past. who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would Zamir love to have the opportunity to share a ring with?
It would be Norman Smiley. That's my dream match right there. Yeah,
Nice,
him
nice.
or the Miz.
Yeah.
Top two.
So, we're going to use a literary term here. Do you have a foil, meaning an arch rival, someone that you have amazing in-ring chemistry with, where if you're working that person, it's always going to be a banger? Do you have such a wrestler that you're going to just tear it up if you're in the ring with them?
Rico Gonzalez. I would say I cannot. I don't remember not one bad match, and we've had quite a few. He was actually
Nice.
one of my last matches, an attack match. It was him. It was us versus each other again. We just keep.
Nice. So what we're going to do now is we do something called the speed round game. And what that is I've got a list of 10 names here. We're going to go through this list of 10 names. And as I say a name, I want you to tell me the first things that pop into your head.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy.
Insane.
Ray Phoenix.
Talented.
Braun Breaker.
Big as hell.
But when I think of Braun Breaker, man, I just think the future. I mean, the sky is the limit for that guy.
No stopping him. He's on the upper trajectory.
Bryan Danielson.
The GOAT.
Tony Storm.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
Rey Mysterio.
Charismatic.
Kyle O'Reilly.
Fast.
Mustafa Ali.
Exotic and exorbitant.
Yeah.
Cool as hell. He's really cool.
Asuka.
Oh, dangerous.
Yeah. Ethan Page.
Fun to watch.
Yeah. So, they say never meet your heroes because they're bound to let you down. But have you had the chance to meet any of your wrestling heroes? And if so, how has the experience been?
Yes, I have actually. Shoot, I was able to meet. I met Shelton Benjamin at at an Ashe show recently, like a few months ago, and I thought that I was really nervous to meet him because he is a lot taller than I expected him to be in person, and very, very stewardly. So he was very kind. He locked up with me. I was like, "Oh my God, you're Shelton Benjamin, me, yay!" I was like, "This is cool."
Nice,
He
nice.
gave me a few good pointers too, so it was nice.
I have heard really good things about him as a human being. So
He's sweet. Believe it, he's a great guy.
So, what is your favorite move? What is something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you won't do or you would at least rather not do? And that can be giving or receiving.
I love my favorite move is a Hurricanrana. I love to do a Rana. It's just something about it. It's so fun. You could do it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It's the same result, bro. And to not do, I do not like power bombs. I say that in any time I get the opportunity to. Power bombs are my least favorite moves to take. I would do it for a check, but I will not. I won't do it for free for fun. It's a deep
Yeah,
bump.
no doubt, no doubt. So, you've been doing this long enough that this probably applies to one degree or another. And I'll go ahead and ask, what hurts right now?
As I feel it, kind of my back, yeah. As I took a deep breath, my back, yeah.
Gotcha. So, you were talking about the power bomb being a deep bump. In the 4 years you've been doing this, what is the worst bump you have taken?
Oh, the worst bump I've taken was that superplex into a Falcon Arrow. No ho, no joke. That that right there. I think it was that the superplex immediately into a Falcon Arrow. One kick out the
Yikes!
last second, bro. That I thought I had it. I thought I had a lot more in me than I did.
Yeah, yep. Looking over at the Instagram chat, Chris Page from CCP Podcasting has joined and says, "What's up?"
Oh,
He's a
what's
good
up?
guy. We've got some upcoming collaboration that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
So you know, there is a big difference in sports and in anything between being hurt and being injured. Um, you know, in pro wrestling especially, you're always hurt to one degree or another.
Yes.
And there is a difference between working hurt and working injured. Have you ever worked injured? And if so, why did you do that?
Yeah, I have once. Yeah. I worked injured because I had sprained bad. I had sprained my MCL pretty bad, and I wasn't supposed to obviously wrestle or work out or do anything. But I definitely did have two bookings already lined up for that weekend.
Yeah,
I was like, it's not moving that bad, and my opponents were mad cool. I just said, "Yo, my knee." And they were like, "It's fine."
well,
Get
that's
right
cool.
into
If you can, if you work it out with your opponent and basically say, let's try to make this as easy on my knee as possible, you can probably get away with it. But
Will not be hitting the ropes tonight.
yeah, yep. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling, specifically indie wrestling?
I think it's a great thing. I think for our generation, for my generation of wrestling, it's easier than what came before us because I know that they used to, you know, I mean, simply didn't have the technology or the resources that we do now. We can get, I mean, we got in contact with each other like that. We don't have to
Yeah,
wait for emails or we don't have to wait for like phone calls or beating around the bush. We can get things a lot done. Sorry, we can get a lot of things done faster. But the caveat of that is everybody wants to know about us and
right.
everybody has access to us.
Yeah. And because of that, um, you sometimes end up with some people who have a sense of entitlement that they feel like they're entitled to know more than they really should know, or um, so
Yeah, and that is true, unfortunately. But that's the world that we chose, so
yeah,
it's a catch
absolutely.
22.
So knowing everything that you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
This is not going to be easy. Life doesn't necessarily get easier, but God gives you more tools and more things that you need to grow through and then to get better each day. Kaizen each day. And the more you grow, the more you smile, the more you keep trying, it does get better.
Yep.
Going from not having fun in school to now on my way up and beyond. It was incredible. So keep going, please.
Absolutely, and I love your use of the term kaizen. You know, the Japanese for continuous improvement.
Hmm.
Man, that is really a way to live your life. You know,
It's
and
real.
oh, for sure, for sure. And looking over at the Instagram chat, Chris Page actually has a question, and that is, what were some of your inspirations that led to getting into the game? I mean, you were talking about Norman Smiley a little bit before. I think he was on, but besides Norman Smiley, who were some of your other inspirations for wanting to become a wrestler?
I will say, thank you for your question. I will say, the Miz, the Miz definitely. He was one of the greatest I've ever seen to do it. When it comes to the women of wrestling, AJ Lee, she
Hmm.
was my number one women's wrestler, diva. Um, she was one of the best on the mic, male or female. She was one of the best in the ring. And I feel like not even feel like she opened up so many doors and shattered so many glass ceilings that it was impossible for her not to make an impact. And then honestly, The Rock, I'd say The Rock, he's pretty insane. I mean, he's one of the biggest to ever do it. Regardless of recent history, one of the greatest to ever do it.
Yep, yep. And uh, Chris is commenting that Miz is so underrated, and AJ Lee has such charisma. Yeah, AJ Lee is somebody that I wish she would come back for just a short run. I mean, just to see her in the ring again would be just great.
It would be amazing. Not even probably not even just in the ring. You could be a general manager again. You can
Yeah.
run the show. She did. She wore so many hats. Listen, she was around.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, do you have any pre-show traditions? Any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain? You had mentioned earlier that you always pray, but is there anything else that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
Um, I always call my match in my head. I always call my match beforehand. So I'm one of those wrestlers. I like to do that. I like to listen to calm, like neo soul, R&B music, something soothing. So my heart's not jumping. I always pee beforehand, but still, no matter what, I always have to pee right before my music hits. Um, just small things like that. Oh, stretch. Please stretch before your match. You don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. I've tried not stretching before. Each time I don't, always nips me.
Yep. Yep. So, and I'm just kind of looking for a quick rundown here. What all do you carry in your gear bag? Do you have anything unusual or unique that you carry in your gear?
Um, I carry honestly, I carry everything I pretty much need on me. Not only for it's not only my gear. I always keep two pairs of socks, underwear, pants, shirts, like anything, because I've been on the road before. And any wrestler who's new, please pack not an exorbitant amount, but even if you're going out of town and coming back the next day, you don't know what can happen. Anything can truly
Yep.
happen on the road. So just
Yep.
pack extra. I have
Prepare,
deodorant too,
prepare,
because meat.
prepare.
Please.
Yep.
Snacks too, because you don't want to stop at every gas station.
So, something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. And a previous guest of mine, a New York City based wrestler, and actually the head trainer at the T2T Wrestling Academy in Brooklyn, uh, the King of Chaos, Logan Black, posed this question, and that is, what is your favorite comic book character and why?
Storm from X-Men.
Yeah.
She's always been, first of all, she's one of the most powerful beings, gods, heroes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You look
I
at,
mean, if you can control the weather,
yeah,
you're kind of
you're kind of
um,
important.
yeah.
People should know who you are. Yeah, and from her and her story, for those who don't know, isn't only tied to X-Men. It's tied to Black Panther and Wakanda too.
Mm-hmm.
Her layout. It's a whole thing. So Jade Cargill, good job,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. She's definitely, um, you know, Marvel could definitely use her potentially in future casting for Storm. I think she would be pretty amazing in the role.
Oh yeah, sure. Has the hair and everything. She's fine.
Yep, yep. So Chris Page actually mentioned that he's given you a follow and he loves your authenticity. So
Oh, merci. Thank you so much. Merci un peu. You're so nice. Thank you.
since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to pose to the next guest?
Hmm. What's your least favorite food, and why is it your least favorite food?
How would you answer that?
Sushi. It
You
made
and
me
me, but
sick.
you and me both. I can't do sushi.
I can't do sushi.
The thought of sushi, honestly, just it almost makes me want to gag. I just can't do it.
It makes me want to gag as well. I got sick off it one time. Now I can't even walk past a restaurant. I can't walk past in a grocery store. I go pale.
Yeah. So we're getting pretty much to the end of things at this point. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
Yes, I do actually. On September 6th, so I don't remember what month we were in. On September 6th, I will be on Ashe. I am very excited for that. Very much looking forward to these next upcoming couple of shows that we have going on for the rest of the year. I will be traveling more across the country, so looking forward to that as well. That's my next
Nice.
immediate show, though.
Nice. Well, as far as what we've got coming up here on the Throwdown, um, next week on, I guess it's Tuesday the 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got episode 146 with Preston from the Mid Atlantic Territory Wrestling. He is actually an old friend of C.W. Anderson's, who I had on the show, I guess, a couple of months ago now. And CW made the connection between me and Preston. And Preston is basically the promotion that he's working with is an old school territory style Wrestling Federation, and more or less trying to kind of replicate the experience of the old Mid-Atlantic territories up in the Carolinas and Virginia from back in the day. So I'll be having him on this coming Tuesday at 7 p.m. And then on next Thursday, the 21st at 7 p.m., I've got episode 147 with Brianna Franklin. She is a super fan from Florida and an aspiring wrestler herself. She's planning to start training soon at the House of Champions down in Orlando. And, I'm basically just having her on just to basically talk about wrestling and sort of get the perspective of somebody that is fixing to start her journey. So I'm definitely excited to have her on, as well as Preston next week. And before we wrap all of this up, do you have any final words for the audience?
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for tuning in here, for listening to me. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. I love y'all. Y'all are very sweet, and I respect every single one of you. Thank you so much for loving wrestling.
Absolutely. And, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays and such, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. All of my socials are in my link tree on my Instagram. So, definitely pop over there and take a look. And, like I said, if you like what we've got going here, do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until Tuesday night at 7 p.m. with Preston from MATW, be good to each other, love each other, and let's keep throwing down.